Hello students, welcome back. Today I am Anuradha from Arden Progressive School going to start another topic of the same chapter, that is sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Okay, so in this revision session already we have discussed about the male gamete as well as female gamete. Okay, as it is the sexual reproduction, so there is a need of two types of gametes, right? So here how the male gamete will form. If I'm talking about the male gamete, means that I'm talking about the pollen grains. Okay, so what is that whole process which we have done in the one of the process? Okay, in another part we have done about the female gamete. Okay, in this we have discussed about the embryo sac, right? So how this pollen grains and how this embryo sac is going to develop with the help of different processes. Okay, so for that we have done microsporogenesis as well as the megasporogenesis, right? So microsporogenesis is what? It is the formation of spore. Okay, and if I will talk about the female gamete, mega means that if I'm talking about the ovule or the embryo sac, right? So here there will be formation of female gamete. So that much is completed. So see here what is happening. The whole sexual reproduction, okay, the whole sexual reproduction we have divided into three parts. How? The pre-fertilization events, fertilization event and the post-fertilization event, right? So for the fertilization there is a need of male and female gamete. So initially we have done all the things which included in the pre-fertilization events. It means that it is a preparation for the fertilization. So we have done that pre-fertilization events, under which we have discussed about the microsporogenesis and megasporogenesis, right? Then comes to the fertilization. Fertilization, again it is the fusion of male and female gamete. But how the male and female how there will be fusion of male and female gamete? Because we know that plants, they are not able to move. Okay, so how they will go for the sexual reproduction? So for that there is one thing, that is pollination. Okay, so this pollination ensure that how there will be transfer of male gamete, that is pollen grains, to the stigma of the female part, right? So for that we have discussed about the pollination and the different agents of pollination. Okay, so in the different agent of pollination, we know that we are having two different agents. What are they? Biotic agents as well as the abiotic agents. Biotic agents are what? Something related to the living one, and abiotic related to the non-living one. Okay, so in biotic agents, what we have discussed? We have discussed that what are the living agents. We know that living are what? Living are the insect. Okay, it may be animals, right? Or it may be rodents. So these are what? These are the living one. And if I will talk about the abiotic one, abiotic agents are what? They are the non-living. For example, if I will talk about the wind. Okay, so wind is helpful for the transfer of pollen grains from the male part to the female part, right? So wind is one of the abiotic agent, and any other by abiotic agent like water also. Okay, so water is also helping to move the pollen grains from one place to another place, right? So these are the two biotic and abiotic agents. Okay, and we know that we are having different types of flower like monoecious as well as dioecious. So the pollination will be somehow different type. Okay, so for that we have divided self pollination as well as cross pollination, right? So that much we have completed till here. Now we have to start that how the plants will adapt themselves. Okay, how the plants will adapt themselves to happen this pollination. Because if it is a wind pollination, if it is a water pollination, or if it is an insect pollination, there must be some differences in their structure of flower. Okay, so how their flowers are different, how their inflorescence are different. So today we are going to study all about it, right? So let's start with the topic, that is the abiotic agents, right? Abiotic agent, again it is a non-living agent which comprises of wind as well as water pollinated plants, right? So for the wind pollination, what should be the adaptation, how their structures are different as compared to the other types of flower. So here the first thing comes here, that the pollen grains, okay, The pollen grains of these types of flowers, they are what? They are light and non-sticky. Why they are light and non-sticky? Because they have to move from one place to another place with the help of wind. Okay, if it will be heavier, then they will not be able to move properly through the wind. Okay, that's why the condition is that the pollen grains must be light and non-sticky. If it will be non-sticky, then it will be somehow very difficult to move through the wind. So that's why the pollen grains of these wind pollinated flowers, they are the very light as well as the non-sticky, right? Another one is the written single ovule in each ovary. Okay, what does it mean again? That in each ovary there is only one ovule. Okay, in many of the crops you will see that there may be different or more than one ovule. Okay, but if I will talk about those plants which pollinated by the wind, in those type of plants what happens, there will be one ovule. Why? Because we know that when pollen grains will come from any other plant, there will be less possibility. Okay, because we cannot say it's just a hidden trial method. Okay, if something is coming from outwards through the wind, maybe it can pollinate, or it may not be pollinated. So if there will be only one ovule, so the chances of getting fertilization, the chances of get pollinated are more than that. Okay, if there will be 2 or 3 ovule, what will happen? The pollen grain will get divided, which is coming from the outwards. So that's why there will be only one ovule in each ovary in case of the wind pollinated flowers, because the pollen grains, they have to come from outside through the wind. Okay, to increase the rate of pollination or to increase the chances of pollination will be more if there will be single ovule. Okay, now comes to the another point, numerous flowers packed into inflorescence. Inflorescence is what? Arrangement of flowers. Okay, so the how these flowers are arranged themselves. So here what you will see, there are so many flowers which can be packly arranged. Okay, examples you can see in case of maize. If you will see the inflorescence of maize, what happens that it is very compact. Okay, and it contains of different types of inflorescence. If you will see like this, the male part as well as female part both present on the same plant, right? The male plant, you will see that this type of structure, the inflorescence is this type of structure. So why this type of inflorescence are here? Because there will be so many, if there will be so many flowers, what will happen? So each flower having tendency to release more and more pollen. Okay, so this type of inflorescence you can see that. Why? Because if it will be more flower in the inflorescence, there will be more chances to accumulate the pollen grains, and there will be more chances of fertilization. Okay, as well as pollination. Pollination will lead to the fertilization, right? Now there will be the well exposed stamen and large feathery stigma. We know that stamen is what? Stamen is a male reproductive unit and stigma is the female part, right? So what happens that time, if it is a wind pollinated, the structure should be somehow open. Okay, why? Because if it will be open, for example, anther will be open, then there will be a release of pollen grains will be easier. Okay, and if stigma will be feathery and it should be large, it means that if I will talk about, if we will talk about the maize, you can see that the female part is what? This cob-like structure. Okay, this cob-like structure is responsible, from which you can see different, this type of hair-like structure is there. Okay, so what happens? From this male part, it will reach into the female part on the same plant. So what happens? You can see that stigma is receptive as well as they are in a feathery form. Okay, why there will be a feathery form? If any of the pollen grains comes here, there will be more chances. Why? If it will be stick in any of this part, this feathery part, then there will be the pollination. Okay, that's why the structure is somehow adapted to a new structure, right? So here what we are saying, that the stamen, it means that stamen is what? We know that a stamen is whole, consists of what? Anther, then filament, Okay, so these should be what? This should be well exposed so that it can dehiscent the pollen grains very easily, and the stigma should be, we can say the feathery stigma should be there, or if it will be larger surface area, there will be more absorption. Okay, it's a simple fundamental that more the area, more the absorption. So here, if there will be large feathery stigma, what will happen? There will be more chances to get pollinated, right here. So these are the characteristics of the wind pollinated flowers, right? Now comes to the another one, that is the water pollinated. Okay, again it comes under the abiotic agent because they are the non-living one, right? So examples, we can see these type of water pollinated in some of the monocots which is present in the aquatic life. Okay, so most of the things which is present in the water, they are the form of water pollinated one, right? So example, if I will talk about majority of the aquatic plants, okay, if I will talk about the majority of aquatic plants, so how they are getting pollinated above the water level. Okay, if it is a water level and these plants are present here in this water, what happens? What they are doing, they are emerging their inflorescence, or they are emerging their flowers above this level, above the water level. Okay, and here they will get pollinated, right? So in majority of flowers, what is happening? They are coming from inside to outside of this level of water, and here they will get pollinated. At this time, the pollination will be done by the insect as well as the wind, right? So above this water level, what type of pollination? There will be the wind pollination or maybe the insect pollination, right? But in some of the plants, but in some of the aquatic plants, what happens that female flower reaches the surface of water. Okay, so what it is doing, it is only reaching its stalk. Okay, stigma, okay, stigma, style and ovary. So here I am talking about the stalk of what? Stalk of anther, and we know that stalk is present where? If I will talk about this anther filament. Okay, so at this time the female flower reaches to the surface level. I'm not talking about this condition. Okay, here this part will come outward of this one, and the pollen grain released on the water surface. So whatever the pollen grains coming from another plant, where they will reach at the surface. So for example, these are the pollen grains and the stalk will be more. Okay, the largest, this longer stalk, it will reach up to here to take this pollen grains. So now what is happening? There will be what type of pollination? Water pollination. Why? Because the pollens will be present in the water, and in this water there must be a pollination, right? So there will be a transfer of pollen grains to the female flower and leads to the pollination as well as the fertilization, right? So what simply is happening here? The pollen grain released on the water surface. Okay, they are releasing their pollen grains in the water and they are reaching up to the female part and they are getting pollinated, right? An example is Wellischneria. Okay, Wellischneria, in this form, what happens? There will be formation of this type of pollination. Okay, and if I will talk about this Wellischneria or some other type, so what happened? There will be formation of, we can say, ribbon shaped structure. Okay, it is also known as the ribbon shaped structure. It is forming in their female part, and this female part, okay, if it will be in a ribbon shaped, okay, if it will be in a ribbon shaped, what will happen? They will be more responsible for adapting this pollen grains, and these pollen grains will get attached to their female part, right? So this can be condition for the water pollinated flowers, right? As well as the pollen grains of the wind pollinated, they are the light one. It means they are the non-sticky one. But if I will talk about the pollen grains of water pollinated flowers, you can see that there must be a proper covering. Why? To prevent the wetting. Okay, to prevent the wetting, there must be some covering, and covering of what? Covering of mucilaginous substances. And it will help them not to get wet properly. If it will get wet, that they will not be able to fertilize or pollinate properly. That's why this covering is helpful here, right? So how we can differentiate between these two types of flowers? Okay, now comes to the another agent, that is a biotic agent. Biotic agents, simply it is a living agent, and most of the pollinators, they are the insects. Okay, so here the pollinators are what? Those who are helping, those enhancing to have the pollination. So here what is happening? There must be an insect pollination, right? So insect pollination done in some of the plants like rose, calotropis. So most of the things you can see that this type of pollination mostly in the agricultural crops. Okay, so here what are the characteristics? Whatever the things which is happening in the flower, if you will see the flowers of wind pollinated, they are not that much attractive. Okay, why? Because they don't have to attract any insect, right? So wind doesn't need any attraction. So here if I will talk about the insect pollination, so the flowers, they are very attractive. Okay, so flowers are attractive and they are producing the nectar. Why insect will come towards the flower? Because they need some nectar for making the food or for making the honey. So right here, whatever the insect they are coming towards the flower, they are coming for their own purpose, and at the same time they are responsible for the pollination also. So what is happening here? That flowers are, we can say, they are very large. If it is large, then they will attract the insect. They are fragrant. Some fragrance must be there. There must be a rich in nectar. These flowers should be rich in nectar. Then they will, we can say, they will visit that place or visit that flower. Now comes to the pollen grains. It is about the flowers. And what about the pollen grains? The pollen grains, they are stigmatic surface. Why? Because if any of the insect is bringing any of the pollens from any flower, okay, same insect is going in this flower and same insect is going into the another flower. So from one flower it is bringing the pollen grains and it is leaving to the another flower. So at that time, if the pollen grains will be sticky, what will happen? They will stick properly. Okay, if you know that insect has been bringing here the pollen grains, but at the same time if any wind will come and it will move that pollen grains from that place. So for that reason there must be a pollen grain should be sticky, so that once it has been done the pollination, it should be followed. Right here, so what we have done here, that pollen grains must be sticky in case of this insect pollination, but in case of wind pollination it should not be sticky, right? Now another point, very important, we can say that it can be act as a safe place for laying the eggs. Okay, one of the common example is the yucca plants and the moth. So moth, what they are doing, they are laying their eggs in the flower of what? In the flower of yucca. Okay, and for the time being, what will happen? They will lay the egg, and after some time, we can say the young ones will come outside of this flower. Due to this, what will happen? When the yucca are moving, okay, sorry, when moth are moving, what they are doing? They are moving from one flower to another flower, right? So at that time, what will happen? There will be pollination. So it is helping the plants to get pollinated, and at the same time it is helping to the moth to lay the eggs. So we can say there is a relationship between them. What type of relationship? Which are benefiting to each other, right? So here what we can say, they are acting as a safe place for the moth to get lay here, right? And after that, what happens? That they are taking nutrition from the plants also. If eggs are present inside the we can say this yucca plant, what they are doing, they are taking the nutrition for their young ones. Okay, but yes, they are allowing themselves to get benefited, right? Now, so we have done completed about the pre-fertilization events. Now we will move towards the fertilization event. So for the fertilization event, there must be a male gamete as well as female gamete. We have done these things. Now we have done the pollination, how they will reach to the female part. We have done. Now comes to the pollen pistil interaction. See here what happens, that we have done that it is the female part, stigma, style and ovary. Okay, and we know that from the another end pollen grains will come here. Okay, and we know that pollen grain is what? It is having the layer exine and intine. The outer layer is exine, which is very hard, Okay, so now as the pollen grain will reach into the stigma, what happens during that time? So this mechanism, it is known as pollen pistil interaction. Pistil is what? It is a female reproductive unit. Pollen is which is coming from outside, and it is a male gamete. Okay, so for happening this fertilization, okay, for happening this fertilization, what is the requirement? There must be a need of this pollen grains into the stigma. So as it is coming here directly, it will not get fertilized. Okay, there must be some interaction, there must be some process, and this process is pollen pistil interaction. And during this time there would be some chemical mechanism. Okay, they are releasing some chemicals. Okay, so pollen grains having sporopollen, so they are releasing some structure and emerging the pollen tube in this female part. Okay, so what they are doing, as it will reach towards the stigma, they are happening some chemical reaction. Okay, so during this chemical reaction, the stigma is allowing the pollen grains to emerge its pollen tube and get inside this female part, where you can see that ovules are present. Okay, so now how this we can say pollen gets germinated, as they are having two types of cell, vegetative cell and generative cell. Okay, so the cell from the generative cells, it will reach towards the pollen tube. Okay, and we have done that two types of dehiscence. What are they? It can be 2 cell stage or it can be 3 cell stage. So most of the plants, what we have done, it can be the 2 cell stage, right? And in some of the plants there may be or we can say 40% of the plants, there will be what type of 3 cell stage. If any of the plant of the pollen grains will come here in a 2 cell stage, what it will form? First of all, it will undergo the division and it will form the 3 cell stage, right? So when it will form the 3 cell stage, so 2 nucleus, okay, which is arising from the generative cells. Okay, if you will recall the earlier lecture, so what is happening, the generative cell is going to divide and it will form 2 nucleus, and these 2 nucleus will enter into the pollen tube. So how many nucleus we are saying that it will enter inside the pollen tube? 2 nucleus, right? So 2 nucleus will enter into this pollen tube and it will reach towards this female part through the micropylar end. And where is the micropylar end? This is a micropylar end, where you can see that what are the things present here? Synergids. Okay, through the micropylar end there are the synergid. And these synergid consist of 3 types of cells. What are they? 2. Here we are saying synergid, and 1 egg cells, right? And at the center 2. And this antipodal cell, again it is a chaliceal end. Micropylar end, chaliceal end, 3 cells are present, and at the center there will be 2 cells, right? So we can say 2 nucleus or 2 cells. So what is happening, as it will move towards this pollen tube, it will reach through the micropylar end and it will fertilize the egg cell, right here. So we have done this thing in the pollen pistil. In this pollen pistil interaction, only that much is there, that what is happening during this time. Okay, nothing. It is not related to any pollen tube. It is not related to any fertilization, which I have discussed right now. So it is related only to how they are interacting with this female part. Okay, and this must be compatible. Okay, why? Because if it would not be compatible, if this interaction would not be compatible, then there will be no emerge of pollen tube. Okay, pollen tube will emerge only in that condition when they will be compatible with each other. Okay, pollen grains must be mature, this female stigma must be receptive. Okay, so these conditions must be fulfilled here, then only there will be a proper interaction, right? Now comes to the artificial hybridization. What is the meaning of artificial hybridization? We know that during this pollination, what is happening? That there will be movement of pollen grains from one plant to another plant. But sometimes there is a need to go for the artificial hybridization. Means that we have to go for the controlled pollination. It must be under our supervision. We can select the flowers. If we are selecting, this is a flower. Okay, this is a male flower and this is a female flower. Right? Now it's our choice that how we can improve it. So we will discuss this part in the breeding part. Okay, breeding lesson. But here what happens during that time, if any of the flowers which contains both types of what? Both types of flowers, male flower as well as female flower. So in this condition, what happens that we are going for the hybridization technique. Hybridization means to mix something. So how we will go for the pollen grains as well as the female part. So in that condition, we have to go for some step. The first step it is emasculation. Okay, emasculation is what? If I said both part is present on the same plant, so one we have to make male flower, totally male flower, and one we have to make female flower, right? So for example, if it is one flower, both part is present, what we will do to make it the female flower? We have to remove the male part. So what we will do? We will remove this male part, and removal of this male part or the anthers. Okay, male part is nothing, it is anther. Removal of anther, it is known as what? It is known as emasculation. Okay, so what type of process will be there? Emasculation, removal of anther from the flower. Now you can see this whole flower will act as a female part, right? So what is happening? Only the female part will left here, and from the another flower which is having both male as well as female, so the male part will release its pollen grain and will send into this flower right here. So pollen grains coming from the another plant. So what is happening? We know that if there will be cross pollination, it will be benefited to the plants. Okay, in nature they are adapting themselves, but when we have to go for the strictly cross pollination, or for, we can say, from the outside source, what we are doing? We are removing the male part and we are providing the pollen grains. Okay, we will take out the pollen grains and we will dust the pollen grains into the stigma of this flower. For example, this is a stigma, style and ovary, right? So we have not removed this female part. What we have done? We know that there is a male part in this flower. Okay, so we have removed this male part from here, and now there is only female part, and we have dusted this pollen grains into the stigma, right? So and ultimately what will happen? The seed setting which will take place here, it will be the controlled one. And this type of hybridization, it is known as artificial hybridization, because it takes place in the controlled condition by any of the man, right here. So we have completed this part. Now, as I have said, pre-fertilization event, fertilization event. So fertilization event have been completed here. Now, during this fertilization event, now it's not only completed. What is there? The fertilization event will be completed when there will be a double fertilization, right? So double fertilization is what? When there will be a fertilization takes place between the male gamete as well as female gamete. So we will discuss it in the later class. So that's all for today. Thank you.